mission is to make sure that everyone has equal access to safe food, safe drinking water, healthy homes, and toxic-free, climate-friendly products. The major source of PFAS contamination in Maine is the application of municipal and industrial sludge on farmland. The application of sludge has led to, the contamination of at least 9 family farms and hundreds of residential wells. This number will only increase as the state ramps up testing of the farmland. After the contamination of Stone Ridge Farm in 2019, the DEP, or Department of Environmental Protection, halted the spread of sludge unless the sludge tested below a screening level for 3 types of PFAS. Initial results showed a shocking 95% of that sludge exceeded the screening levels for at least one of those compounds. DEP's policy, however, has a gigantic loophole. The biggest is that wastewater treatment facilities can send their sludge to a compost facility. The composting does nothing to eliminate the PFAS contamination. As shown in some tables that will make sure that the press gets, state data shows levels in resulting compost often exceeds the state standards, sometimes up to 18 times higher. In short, this sludge disguised as compost is allowing more farms and home gardens to be inadvertently contaminated with toxic PFAS. We must stop this practice and prevent more farms from being ruined and wells being contaminated. As you've heard, the legislature is currently considering legislation, LD 1911, that would outright ban the practice of spreading sludge or sludge-derived compost to prevent further contamination. Now, this impacts the bottom line of companies that currently utilize toxic sludge to make their compost. Casella owns Hawks Ridge Compost Facility, which entirely operates on sludge. It is not compost. It's just sludge dried, and then they call it compost. Casella has been reaching out to sewer districts with stories of gloom and doom about capacity if this law passes, and getting sewer districts to do their dirty work of opposing LD 1911. These are the facts. The experts from the state DEP that oversees waste disposal testified repeatedly before the Environment and Natural Resource Committee that the capacity for in-state sludge is not an issue. The bulk of the sludge is already going to landfill, with a dramatic shift having already happened in 2019 and 2020. A review of the data shows even if all remaining in-state sludge went to the state-run landfill, Juniper Ridge, it would only constitute an increase of 2% of the total waste stream. Interestingly, the associations representing the sewer districts were neutral on this bill when it effectively banned more than 95% of the sludge. They only became opposed to it when it amended to include 100% of the sludge. Then it suddenly became untenable, a position that defies logic, if the only concerns are related to capacity and ability. Another concern we've heard is that there may be some increased costs on wastewater treatment facilities. It is our understanding that the ENR committee is trying to find some additional funding to help offset those costs. However, even if there isn't additional funding, the cost will be far less than what it would cost to clean up contaminated farmland, not to mention healthcare costs and loss of livelihood for impacted communities. DEP Commissioner Melanie Loisum estimated during a briefing before ENR that the state is looking at around $20 million a year for PFAS cleanup. And that number does not include healthcare costs or the cost of any buyouts for those farms, like you've heard from today, that could be completely decimated. How is it fair for the entire cost of this to fall on our farmers? The state sanctioned this practice, and for years the sewer districts may have been able to plead ignorance as to the hazards of their inexpensive disposal option. But we now know the harm and have seen the devastation it can cause. It should not be up to our farmers to bear the brunt of this cost. Let me repeat that. It should not be up to our farmers to bear the brunt of this cost. We must pass LD 1911 and keep this from happening to other farmers, and we also urge the state to find funding to help these impacted farmers. Thank you.